So, bruv, nice to have you on.
Thank you.
Nice
Glad
to
to
back
be
here,
here.
Bim. You know what I mean? Just come to have a chill conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Know you for a while, and just think that whatever experience you got would be very beneficial to anybody who is along the journey of, trying to better themselves, be a student athlete, or just, reach excellence, because I think that's where you are so far.
Far
So,
from, but I mean, I do agree with you. Thank you for having me. But yeah, I think it's integral in, conveying your journey with others who are looking to go through it because, as I said, the more knowledge you have, the better prepared you would be going forward. So,
right. And I think some people our age probably think that because we're young, we don't got anything to show anybody. But literally, teaching is just that you are one step above before the person
yep.
who is, and that's kind of what we do in the business too. Is like I'm not like certified teacher, but I can tell you, I know what it means to like do CSCs, to do KIP,
Yeah.
and do decent. Because you even know we was doing TD, so that was like an
Yeah.
extra subject
Yeah,
each year. They
yeah,
make us
yeah.
call these zombies and take. We work as hard.
Exactly.
So the same thing with you. I genuinely think, given how far you have been alone, that you have some wealth of knowledge to dispense to other person. So
Yeah.
again, thanks for coming on. So I
You're
want to
most
start with
welcome.
regards to really and truly the whole journey. Like, if you had a good you origins superhero origin story, like from the grown up, like how has it been to get to this point for you? You
I
say
don't know if it would be a superhero story, more than an average Joe, but I mean, yeah. Basically, I'm a student athlete at college right now. This is my third year, I'm junior, and it's always been my dream to, pursue track, pursue a career in track. Um, it hasn't always been the most smooth sailing
could
dream,
imagine, yeah.
but it's been worth it. I think it's taught me a lot of stuff on the way, along the way, and I think, yeah, it's given me some valuable lessons as a person and helped me to mature through the years.
I could
So
imagine, yeah,
yeah.
big facts. So, like, when did you know you wanted to do track?
I think
And I don't mean that you was thinking it was a good idea, but you
no,
was like for sure, like, yo, this is
yeah,
it, bro.
I think that came, believe it or not, that came during COVID when we
Oh,
had the first
wow.
lockdown.
A lot later than what I think.
A lot later than a lot of people would think.
Uh-huh.
And I told my dad this, and I believe it was because we didn't have anything going on during then.
Right.
But the motivation I had to still train, and
You mean despite everything going on?
yeah,
Okay.
despite no track meets, no organized training, the motivation I had to train still, and also the satisfaction it gave me and the relief that it gave me during those hard times.
So it's almost like the whole world was on pause. The world was quote unquote like metaphorically on fire, and you was like, "Oh wait, I still want to train."
Yeah, I
Like,
still
so
want
this
to do
means that
track.
I love this thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like going through primary school, secondary school, I was fairly decent at it.
Uh-huh.
I enjoyed it because it was something that I could have
Right.
concurrently done during school,
Mm-hmm.
and it was second nature to me having done it so long.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have the opportunity not to do something,
And I still want to do it.
yeah, that's when I realized that I want
Big
to go
facts.
further in it. So
So, would you say before that time you thought of track as a tool?
um
Because I think a lot of persons in this side of the world, for those who don't know me in Barbados, by the way, use it as a tool to get education that we can attain in this part of the world. And it's like, oh, I don't want to do track full time. I just want to piggyback off of my athletic,
Yeah.
abilities to get access to other things.
yeah, so I think that's a narrative that is pushed a lot towards students, especially going towards 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That track is just, as I said, a platform to get your education to another level. But I hesitated coming out of secondary school and decided to take a gap year because I wasn't sure how
Oh,
things
yeah, you
would
did
line
actually.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. No
So-
thinking about,
So
Continue.
I kind of just used that gap year to assess how I felt. And as I said, unfortunately, but fortunately, that lined up with the first lockdown that we had.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I realized that, yeah, track, I just don't want to use track as an avenue to higher learning,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to see how best I can still balance the two, but take my track career to another level. So,
Dope. So, was it ever a point where you was like only doing track because of like external forces? Because like,
Yeah.
oh, like you was just known as that dude, so
Yeah.
that's what we had to do.
well,
We want to say so with so many words. You
yeah, I don't think, from what I'm understanding from the question, that it wasn't as pressurized in my regard. I think it was more of a personal choice As you know, I did cricket, did basketball.
Yeah, you was
growing
doing
up,
all
a
sorts
lot
of
of
things.
sports.
Yeah.
So it just wasn't solely track. I didn't just have to do track because that
I
was what I
think you
was
do
good at.
volleyball for a little bit too. Like
I wasn't good enough to make the team yet. So yeah, but I tried my hand at a number of sports too. I remember we played table tennis at one point.
Yeah,
in primary
it
school.
sucked. Marcus was hard though.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that I always did track because I enjoyed it. It brought that mental relief for me, even when times aren't always going to be smooth sailing, no matter what you're doing. So even when the rough got going, I think it was just that mental relief for me, that satisfaction that I had, knowing that I could, push my body to the limits and try to get closer to an ultimate goal. So
Yeah, because crazy thing is, like, I think this is also what's helped you too, and on the same wavelength is that this is probably what sidetracks a lot of people. I don't think you ever let it get to your head. Bro, like as much success you've got to this point, because I think from a young age you kind of knew like, oh yeah, you was pretty decent. But again, this is because we small island, like when you go to the stage you are now is a lot different. Yeah. But like every time you achieve like another height, like you was still like hella down to earth. Like even though like you are where you are, like the humility to come here and be in my home and like just to have this conversation, like you still really accessible despite how far you come though.
Yeah, I mean, from the get go, my dad always told me you have to be humble. I guess the narrative changed a bit when the intensity got upped and the competition got up. But growing up in primary school, yeah.
West Stars, by the way, WTPS
Yep.
Tigers, the only school to get boys and girls NATSAT championship in senior year. So like, respect.
Yep.
Just a side note.
But yeah, he always taught me to be humble, and you're only as good as your last race. So I think that always stuck with me.
You're only as good as your last race.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So, and I think going into secondary school, I realized that really quickly. Having gone in first form, but going up an age group, I got my.
Bro, we always used to run big dogs, big man.
Yeah.
It was like Tony. Then it was Trade all the time alone. But at least Trade was in Yellow House. So
I mean, like they would have gone through puberty a bit earlier. Right, exactly. So I mean, I got my butt handed to me.
Right.
And I realized quickly that you can't always be on top. So you got to learn how to lose sometimes.
But isn't it? Would you say that is those times where I don't even say you made the most progress, but you had people there that are older than you, just biologically went through puberty and a lot stronger and faster by just definition, that didn't like propel you to?
I think that stage is a stage where you make the most growth mentally, with grit wise and determination wise, and that is the stage that makes or breaks a lot of athletes usually. The athletes that tough those times out, I think, even though they might not be the best, overall they're more determined and more focused towards life in general and different aspects or goals that they're looking to attain. So
it's a case of like, all right, I do all this work, but like I still not like better than my competitors. So it's like,
what
you got
more do I need to do? You look at things differently, and instead of having like a learned, what's the term? You have a learned optimistic approach rather than a pessimistic approach now, and you attribute your actions and your basically the events that are happening based on your ability, and you keep in mind that you have control of your ability.
Yeah.
And learn helplessness as well. I was trying to remember. It's not a case of learn helplessness where you don't think that you could change your situation.
Right.
So
it's like taking ownership of the fact that if I keep at this long enough, eventually. So like for you personally, how big has having that like long term view like affected you? And like the biggest thing to me that it kind of talk about, but you just said that your dad told you like you only as good as your last race. So like to this point, how you is like obviously human nature to be like, oh, I did this long. Like how do you combat that natural tendency to be like, yo, like I've been crushing it lately, but I only as good as my last race?
Yeah, because I think that's a good note. It helps you to bear in mind that you could have progress going for you 4 years straight, but it only takes one instance for you to lose all of that and for the world to be against you.
Yeah.
But it takes a lifetime or just as long to build that back up.
Yeah.
So, as I said, it keeps you down to earth and always working and it makes you it leaves you in a space where you never feel comfortable.
Right.
So you always have to aspire to be better than you were yesterday.
Right.
So if you're always satisfied with where you were today, let's say you want to race today, and just hypothetical, just call in numbers, you run 100 meter and you want it in, let's say 10-2.
Which is pretty fast.
Yeah. And you think that, well, I want 10-2 today, so tomorrow I can come run 10-2 again and I'll win. Nope. Each day speed goes up, somebody else comes along.
Yeah.
A different environmental
But
factor.
just got like a crazy day, like a crazy outing. Yeah.
You never know. So you always have to be pursuing excellence.
And I think the analogy I would use is that you could build up a good reputation for 10 years and then do something dumb for like in a day and it is gone.
Yep.
And then you take you 20 years to build back that up because like you know, so keeping that mindset is like huge. So with regards to being from a small island and being able to like get a scholarship, like how was that journey? Very much appreciate you if you're here to this point. If you've loved the conversation with me and my boy Jamahl, like, subscribe, because we're going to bring up further parts of the conversation we had are just as good as the one that we just did. If you want to listen to the full audio version of our podcast, you can't wait till the next video come out. Well, look in the description below. You can, listen at Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, wherever you listen to your podcast. But what I would like to do is ask you to comment your favorite part of the video thus far, so that it can help us to make better videos for you in the future. Outside of that, you can watch this video or this video, but stay tuned. Enjoy.